We are talking about marketing approach to NFTs and the Metaverse. Mr. Hakan Şık from Tooken.io, co-founder, welcome. Stage is yours, and you can use this. Yes, this microphone.
My voice is okay, I think.
Maybe you can use this if you want. Yeah, alttaki.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining today with this session. We'll be talking about like a marketing perspective for NFTs and the Metaverse, you know. Okay, it's very hype, but why are we talking about NFTs and the Metaverse now, in this year or the year before? Why aren't we talking like maybe 5 years ago, because Metaverse already existed there, actually. And I think we can start with probably you are curious about who is this guy and why is he telling those to us. I'm here as the title, with the title, like a co-founder of Tooken, Tooken.io. Tooken.io is a company that provides services for brands in NFT and the Metaverse, like communities, etc. So, and as you see in my career, like I worked with too many, like 100 maybe Forbes companies in terms of marketing, by the way. And everything I will tell you today will be all from the perspective of marketing, because in NFTs and in Metaverse, we are still creating content. Nothing has changed. Of course, the technology has changed, is evolving, of course, but like we were in the start of the Web 2 while the first years of my career, I think, like 15 or maybe more years ago, we were talking about like how to use there's something called Facebook, how to use it like in terms of perspective, etc. But today, if I ask you what is social media, you will probably, it won't be easy to explain it in one sentence today, but we all know what social media is. Today, we are like, it's really not easy to explain what an NFT or what really Metaverse is not easy, but in a couple of years we will all be knowing what Metaverse is, does really mean and makes us feel, by the way. And today's agenda will be, if we would have more time, of course, I would like to have some Q&A, but like we have limited time. Today we will talk about a very, actually, in other like keynotes you have heard of DAO, but what is DAO? We will like some kind of deep dive into the DAO, of course, NFT and the Metaverse, and all, of course, with the perspective of creating a content.
Also.
Close, okay. DAO, may I ask how many of you have heard the concept of DAO or know something about it? Can you raise hands? The half of the room knows like DAO, but I was actually like in a master class, we have like told that to the C-levels, it was a regional master class to Coca-Cola, and like from India, like Eastern Europe, etc. We have told that there's something called DAO, and the alpha generation hates C-level, and the whole room was full of C-levels. It was like a cold freezing, and like because DAO will be coming huge, we should all be focusing on DAOs. I'm not telling that DAO will like capture all the hierarchical organizations and take place of it. No, but of course now in that classical hierarchy, like in the organizations, in the all like those big organizations, we are all managed. All those organizations are managed with a classical army hierarchy actually, but you know, as like in DAO, like it's, you know, there are no physical or geographical boundaries, like you can make decisions like more swiftly, more transparently, and all that, like actually that organization, the people who are in that community, in that organization are like a purpose driven, like, you know, the big resignation, etc. in, for example, in US and all other countries, for example, in most of the European countries actually, the big resignation, like with the start of actually COVID, they all looked at, and we don't have a purpose, we're just working in that company, and they start to quit, of course. But DAO is like, DAO was already a solution for that, but it won't be easy to implement for organizations like the DAO system in those big hierarchical systems, even if you are Google or Facebook, etc. But we are always suggesting those brands and those organizations, like, if you are creating a sub-brand, if you are creating a sub-brand or sub-organization or sub-project, let's try that. Let's try that DAO system. And because, by the way, why am I talking about DAO? Because if we want to understand NFTs and Metaverse, we have to understand DAO first, period. Because all the NFT projects and the Metaverse projects are like, there's a hype, okay, then let's get to it and make some money of it. Those projects will, of course, fall into darkness, etc. But DAO will be the core of those projects, like, you know, Bored Ape, etc. There is always something, not 100% DAO, I mean, but of course, we should be starting to learn from those concepts. After like understanding some kind of like the perspective of DAO, yeah, of course, NFTs are like very popular in the last several years, etc. But when we are talking about NFT, we are getting too technical. So we sometimes don't understand. By the way, if someone, both NFTs and Metaverse are very, very actually new concepts. So if someone comes and tell you, I'm an expert of NFT and I'm an expert of the Metaverse, just run away. He or she is lying. There cannot be an expert of an NFT, of like NFT projects or like the Metaverse. There may be some people who are working on those projects and getting some experience. This does not mean an expertise, because to be an expert you will need maybe more than 5 years or those 10,000 hours, etc. It's not that easy to be an expert about it. Like we are working with lots of brands at Tooken, and we are telling them we are not experts. We are just experts in marketing and content creation, but we know something about this world. So this is, I think, really good mindset to evolve and get a space in NFTs and the Metaverse. So when we talk about NFT, we must talk about the psychological and sociological terms of NFT. You know, in today, like a Rolex Daytona, like Platinum Ice Blue, one of the top, like it's about 200K US dollars. It's some kind of. But in that era, actually, when you have a Rolex or you have a, for example, a luxury brand car, when you share it on your Instagram, you are not cool anymore. Or maybe you share a book like you like. For example, in Turkish, there is, for example, Kürk Mantolu Madonna. If you share it, you're not cool anymore. There has to be like, this is also the evolving. We are already experiencing the evolution of Web 2. Because now we don't know what to share or what is cool, what is uncool. As you know, like Instagram started to implement the NFTs in our profile. So we will start to share our NFTs. We will not share, by the way. We will just put them in our profiles. You know, Twitter has already started. Like, we will show them in our profiles, and people start to think differently about us. If for example, we are into sports or that luxury brand. For example, we love that luxury brand car, and we have one of their, for example, important launch events NFT. If we started to show that in our profile, then this will start to tell something about us. Like, this is all about the personality, all about the acts of sharing our, it's a new, the NFTs, we are not talking this too much, but NFTs are a new way of self-expression from our perspective. We only look for like the, how much this NFT is, does this NFT cost? Okay, I can take it for X and sell it to 10X. This is not what we will talk about NFTs in the future. The price, of course, is very important, but not that important. We should, I think, all this is something about, this is some mind shift about NFTs. So, for example, why is this an important example? Because when you have a Rolex, you cannot like share it on your Instagram profile and like have the fancy feeling of that. But if you have a Bored Ape, you know, you can implement it into that Twitter profile and make it like a hexagon, like, you know, this may be too technical, but when you combine your, when you implement your wallet into your Twitter account, that profile owner owns that Bored Ape, so it gives you some extra title or extra benefits for you. So now if you have a, do you want to have a Rolex Daytona or a Bored Ape? Sometimes when I give this example, people are saying, but it's a watch and it's useful. It's not that much useful in terms of money. So, like, there are lots of Swiss-made, very great watches. You are not buying that. You are, because they are like 10 grand, I think, for US dollars. But the other part is the price you are giving to the brand. This is why we are giving that much money to that brand, because Bored Ape is cool now, for now. Of course, we cannot know where will it lead or etc. Or we will see much more way higher values in other projects, of course, but we will, of course, experience them together. It's just the same pattern like it was in like 2008 and 2009. Like we were talking about, there is something called social media. Like, actually, we weren't talking about social media. We were just talking about Facebook. There is something called Facebook, and it's all about social interaction. It has never changed. It will never change. Why we are now talking about the Metaverse, I will mention later, because it's all about social interaction in Metaverse. I think this is something also we should be agree on. VR isn't Metaverse. Every VR project says that this is a Metaverse. No, it is not. Metaverse is another concept. VR was, you know, Oculus was founded in, I think, 2012. Then Facebook bought it like 2 years after that. So, like, about 8 to 10 years, Oculus and VR, not just VR, just Oculus, in terms of Oculus, it's in our lives. But we weren't talking about the Metaverse. So there should be something different about Metaverse, why we are talking. Of course, there's a part like, in COVID, of course, capitalism must find a new way to evolve, etc. Of course, the economical conditions are, of course, are very crucial. But it's not about the technology or evolving technology. It's all about the social connection. If you can create that social connection in the Metaverse, you know, in the gaming industry, like in 25 years from now on, like into the past, like all those game universes are already a Metaverse. in World of Warcraft, I know, like, I was playing like 10 years ago, I think, and like I was like very delighted to be in that verse. I was just sightseeing sometimes, not playing the game in World of Warcraft, and I was enjoying it. It's the same thing. It's not about just taking those VR glasses or something. It's what this social connection leads you to. Because this is why we are using, like, in Web 2, like we were all like in the beginning, like maybe because of the ages, you may not all know that period, but when someone called me, like, there's something called Facebook, we weren't like too curious about where will it lead. But when we experience that world, when we experience that, we see that social interaction, you know, most of the people, like I also experience it, like in the metaverse, the technology, like they are evil, etc. But that is coming and that is evolving. But it's in the core, all like, if I have like two things, like two key takeaways from that presentation, it will be DAO and that social connection and social interaction. Because the social interaction will lead us to the best metaverse or best metaverse projects or best metaverse or best community projects, actually. And of course, there's a big fight. It should be decentralized or centralized. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages of those two. For example, Facebook has, you know, a horizon, like when you take those Oculus glasses, and you can experience it now. And it's a centralized universe or metaverse, whatever you like to call it. But in, for example, Decentraland or in Sandbanks, we are talking about a more like a decentralized
Can we say
venue.
that? Can we say that decentralized for Sandbox?
Not 100%, of course. And I'm also curious, by the way, if they have a deal with Snoop Dogg, for example. Snoop Dogg really like loved that concept and got into there, or they have a deal. We don't know. We will see more like deals like that. For example, in Decentraland. For example, we see like in Roblox, not on blockchain, we know, but like the people who are using, like the alpha generation, are naming Roblox as a metaverse. But it's not on the blockchain. And Nike, you know, Nike, Vans, etc., those companies has some places and have some games in that universes. But I don't think Nike has a real deal with Roblox, but just they wanted to be where, you know, people are spending their times, of course. But in Sandbox, I don't know. In Decentraland, for example, so many brands are using, etc., Decentraland. For example, in Turkey, like we have created a building for, like, you know, the pharmacy company, Abdi Ibrahim, for example, a place in Decentraland. We are now experiencing those worlds, meta-worlds, with those brands. By the way, we are always like, we all must be transparent to those brands, those individuals, etc. Because metaverse or NFTs, especially the metaverse, like it's still in an R&D process. But we started to experience it before it's finalized. So this is why sometimes we got confused. Is this the metaverse, the final metaverse, the metaverses? Which one is the metaverse? This is okay. We will be experiencing it together. And we have actually in the last slides, we have 3 predictions for the metaverse. We don't know any of them will take place in the future, but I think one of them may. Prediction one, of course, one metaverse to rule them all, like you know the protocol like www, and in that one protocol, if you have an e-commerce site or you have a blog or you have a company website, etc., it's all on that protocol. So if there is a chance to have a one metaverse and all those brands, all those concepts, or as individuals, if we can like implement into that, we will see. Of course, all the community, if you like experience them in Discord, etc., all the communities actually wish is that. But I'm not actually quite sure like if there can be one metaverse like in the future, but of course we will see it. Of course, the second one is like, you know, the big fish always usually eats the small fish actually. Now Facebook has a metaverse, the Horizon. Apple will probably launch one. Samsung is working on VR glasses, so Samsung maybe will have a new universe. And of course, Microsoft is like working on like the corporate workspaces, etc. So like maybe, like, you know, now we have like in terms of Web 2, like we have I think 7 to 8 big social platforms like Twitter, Facebook, like Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So and they are not talking to each other, by the way. Like you cannot share an Instagram post to Twitter like simultaneously. You make something similar to it, but in all that social platforms, you have to create actually new content. Maybe, like in terms of metaverse, maybe we will have like 7 or 8, like the biggest metaverses. You know, maybe there was a social platform called Vine. It perished, but the loop cycle of that 6-second videos, like we have used, now we are using it in TikTok or Instagram or those video platforms. So, and the final one is, as I've seen actually, one of the most, like alpha generation loves it and are very curious about it, and they are working for it, I think. And it is billions of metaverses actually. Like, you know, now when we want to create an Instagram story, it's like maybe 2 seconds, right? But actually we are like using photons to create a picture and then send it to space and then get back it. This is a very complex technology, but now we are using like it with like just drinking water. So when we will have the opportunity to create those contents like the metaverse, we may, this is also an opportunity, or maybe with the capability of actually the blockchains, we may have billions of like different metaverses. And the important thing about that metaverse is, like, you know, there's a data crisis now. We have data everywhere and we can't control them, etc. But in those kind of platforms, like in our metaverse, for example, we can like implement our all data, like our e-commerce data, our personal identity data, our NFT, the ownership of NFTs, all those data, we can implement those into our little metaverses and those concepts, and then we can choose which brands or organizations can like reach to them. So this is something also we should be talking about. These are 3 productions. 1, a really huge one. 2, like maybe 7 or 8, like big, more of a maybe centralized metaverses, and the other one is like decentralized, like billions of different metaverses. And okay, but how to execute a project in NFTs or in the Metaverse. Of course, this is a very, normally a long session or a workshop, but we have actually two questions to answer. If we are creating an NFT project, or if we are creating a project in Metaverse, or if we are creating our own Metaverse. And those questions are, why are we creating that project? And why do people have to the feeling of experiencing it or owning that NFT, for example? Those two questions are the crucial questions before starting an NFT project or maybe getting into a Metaverse. Why should we start or do or create that concept, that NFT project, etc., in terms of a brand or in terms of an artist, by the way? And the second thing is, of course, in terms of Metaverse, like, why should anyone come and experience this instead of watching Netflix, etc., etc., etc.? Of course, we all have 24 hours, like sleep, school, work, etc., and we will maybe have like 15 or 20 minutes to give to that Metaverse. But which one will it be? Thank you for listening to me and your time.
Thank you for all the information. That's like Metaverse 101 lessons. Thank you so much for everything. So we have a lunch break right now, so for 1 hour. After 1 hour, we will be back in here.